This is a recording continuing with some extracts from The Ruin of Kasch by Roberto Calasso. And in this extract, I'm just going to be reading through a quote that I like on page 42, where he says, Benjamin Constant quotes, "Almost all men are obsessed by the desire to prove that they are greater than they are. Writers are obsessed by the desire to prove that they are statesmen. Consequently, throughout the centuries, all great operations of extrajudiciary force, all recourse to illegal measures in situations of danger, have been recounted with respect, described with satisfaction. The author, seated tranquilly at his desk, casts opinions in all directions and tries to infuse his own style with the rapidity he advocates for decision-making. He momentarily believes himself invested with power as he preaches its abuses. And his speculative life is fired with all the demonstrations of force and power with which he embellishes his sentences. Thus he endows himself with something of the pleasure of authority. He repeats at the top of his voice high-sounding words about the people's salvation, the supreme law, the public interest. He waxes ecstatic at his own profundity, and is amazed at his own energy. Poor fool! He speaks to men who ask nothing better than to listen to him, and who, at the earliest opportunity, will use him to test his theory." And then, just a few lines down, Calasso writes, "There is, in fact, a complicity between an emerging democratic foolishness and the megalomania of certain men of letters who are perhaps in a humble social position and now suddenly feel they can govern the world from their desks." What I find interesting about what Calasso says about the French Revolution, which this book discusses, and the introduction of a secular system of governance, is that he highlights how this secular system, which has preached rationality, brotherhood, humanity, and so on, is actually enforced with a kind of manic violence, we could say. And that in the middle of this manic violence, we find writers also joining in with the forces that are bringing about, as Calasso says, quoting Benjamin Constant, extrajudiciary force, illegal measures. And he's also highlighting the vanity of people in their aspirations for being something more than they are, and how they, in some way, ride on a tide. They ride on a moment which is taking place in history, that's been brought about sometimes just by hysteria, sometimes just by propaganda, media,